Two peras y two peras. By the river. We're gonna read what happened against Montreal on that ugly day up there. We're going to also look ahead at this upcoming Wednesday. We have midweek soccer, ladies and gentlemen, as the Philadelphia Union will be in Minnesota facing off against Minnesota United. And don't you dare go anywhere because you do not want to miss this episode of DOOP by the River. And let's get it started, guys. Done! And that is right. Welcome, everyone, to DOOP by the River, the show where we follow everything Philadelphia Union. And, of course, we are brought to you by Philly Sports Network. Before we move forward into this episode of DOOP by the River, guys, do us a solid. We're not on PSN today. The Flipping the Birds are handling business over there as they're preparing for the Las Vegas Raiders. But, guys, make sure you guys like and subscribe to Ed Barcelo Philly's YouTube channel. We do broadcast the live portions on here every single episode. And, of course, you can find DOOP by the River alongside with all your other favorite Philly Sports Network podcasts, wherever you stream podcasts on PSN Radio. Guys, we have a fun-filled episode here. We got a special guest later on. But, of course, before we dive into today's action, ladies and gentlemen, please let me introduce to you guys my experts in duping. And let's start off with my man, Justin, the pride of St. Bald, Freiburg. What's up, Justin? How you doing, baby?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited for tomorrow, especially because you'll get to probably see this bald head on TV. I'll be at the game, so I'm excited to check out Allianz Field, to be honest.
Dude, I am so jealous of you. I would love to check Allianz Field. It looks absolutely spectacular, and our guest later on will give us the insight of Allianz Field. But, my man, this is your second away trip, right, for the Union?
Yep, Chicago's the other one, and next year I'm definitely planning on more away trips. So this is first of many.
Well, we'll have to do this segment, Duping with Justin. We love it, man. We're definitely here for it. And, of course, ladies and gentlemen, our other guest here today, you guys have no idea how happy I am to see this man here today. Making his comeback here today. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm applause for my man, Tim Lovinguth. He's here. He's there. He's every fucking where. Tim Lovinguth.
Hey, I'll take it. I mean, the Roy Kent jersey is coming. I'm going to wear it at some point, I'm sure. I'm excited to be back, guys. It's been a while. Happy to talk some Union soccer. Going to get into that late equalizer in Montreal, and maybe talk a little bit about why that's okay.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely,
okay.
Man. Absolutely, my man. It is definitely great to have Tim back. Justin Ed back as well here, guys. I think for a lot of Union fans, especially the Philly sports Union fans, we're ready to talk about some soccer after what happened today. I'm excited to talk about some soccer. We won't speak of Mr. Simmons here today. Can you guys imagine if Jamiro's situation, he starts pulling this stuff. What would we be doing? We'd be crucifying him like Ben?
I mean, to be honest, when Jamiro came back, I thought he looked like a little bit like he didn't want to be here. And I remember telling Justin, I was like, I think he's kind of done. Like, I don't think he's going to play. Luckily, that didn't happen. Everything was all good. But yeah, no Ben Simmons drama. I don't want that right now.
At least Jamiro didn't train with a cell phone and car keys in the first training session.
Ridiculous.
Man, yeah, we're glad Jamiro figured it out, and hopefully Ben can figure it out as well. I don't know about that, but guys, speaking of Philly sports in our Union, dude, Stuart Finley, he embraced the Philadelphia Flyers yesterday as the Flyers put the shellacking on the Seattle Kraken. Hopefully, every Philly sports can take a page out of that. But we love seeing that, right, guys? Stuart at the Flyers game. He's at the hockey match. He was at the hockey match.
He was at the hockey match, as he said on Twitter, and people were giving it to him for that for some reason. No, I think it's great. I mean, it kind of fits his personality. I don't know if you guys have seen some of the videos coming out from Union social media recently where he's, talking and he's all fiery and Scottish, and he looks like he's always up for a fight. So I think he went to the right hockey game yesterday for sure.
If it was allowed in soccer, he'd be the first one to I guess you can't drop the gloves. He dropped the shin guard.
Yeah.
It's all in fun. We definitely love seeing it. But gentlemen, let's dive into it today, shall we? So obviously Saturday afternoon, our Philadelphian traveled up to Montreal in an ugly rainy day up in Montreal. It was ugly. And it was obviously, we know when the rain, there's definitely some interesting conditions, and you can clearly tell. But this was a match where I felt like in the first half, Montreal was the better team by far. They were able to capitalize by a Milkovic goal, and I believe in the 33rd minute. He left wide open, left on an island in that box, and was able to get that past Matt Freese. The second half, things were different. The Union made some great adjustments, and they looked much stronger to start off. The high press was prevalent. They were pressuring the crap out of Montreal, and then the Union would get a nice little gift from Pantemis, the Montreal goalkeeper, alpha free kick that Jamiro Montero kicked in, and it bounced right off of Pantemis's backside and into the net. I was definitely on the follies list of the MLS. And then about 16 minutes later, off a free kick, was on the right side of the Montreal goal. Kai Wagner with the rocket, a couple deflections there, but got past Pantemis for the 2-1. And then for the next 23 minutes or so, we were thinking, we got this. This is 3 points are coming back home to Philadelphia. And then the almighty injury time. Look, injury time for soccer fans is a very nerve-wracking time. All right, you don't know if it's a minute, you don't know if it's 8 minutes. It's just a time of pure nervousness. And of course, there was that injury between, I think it was Glezes and Bison. I forget who it was from Montreal. But then they add an extra minute into injury time. And then, of course, Ibrahim was able to just literally ghost past our defenders and get that head on that ball. And that would be the point stealer, as the match would end 2-2 in a 95th minute goal. It does feel like a loss, I understand, because we had the lead and we had the win. But overall, I mean, the Union didn't play a complete game. This was a game where I felt like they looked like a better team in the second half. But like I mentioned earlier, Montreal looked like the better team in that first half. And honestly, with the conditions and let's put some respect on Montreal's name. They're a pretty solid squad. Will Fernandes doing a great job over there. So I'm definitely going to take the point here. But I'm going to pass it on to my expert in duping. And Tim, it's great to have you back here, my man. And I want to hear from you, my man, because you really did say a great message. This isn't that bad. What did you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, to be honest, the Union didn't come out and cover themselves in much glory, like you were saying, in that first half. And then they went down, and obviously the first goal, you get a little bit of luck with it coming off the post and then off the goalkeeper. The second one, as you guys kind of told me before we were recording, it was more so a good cross that maybe, was more so intended to be a shot as well from Wagner that makes its way in. And yeah, you are lucky to have a lead. I mean, to get scored on in injury time always sucks. But a point on the road, especially this late on in the season, is fine. And I kind of wrote about it in my article before the Montreal match, that the Union kind of need that like CONCACAF World Cup qualifying mentality. Like you got to get draws on the road right now and wins at home. And people will be angry that I'm saying that because they want the Union to win every game. But yeah, you just need to get points at this point. And I think from these last, with the Montreal game included, 6 matches, I had the Union taking 12 points, which is like what, 3 wins and 4 draws, 3 wins, 3 draws. So that's what I have them at. And I wouldn't expect too much else from it. I think they need to have that mentality moving forward. And you did the Roy Kent chant there, and as our boy Ted Lasso says, you got to be a goldfish. You got to have a short memory. We're moving on to Minnesota, as Bill Belichick would say. And yeah, we're gonna get in there. It's gonna be all good, and we'll see what happens on the pitch.
That is why we love Tim Lovings, man, with the great analogies there. He puts Ted Lasso in there. He puts Bill Belichick in there, man. It's definitely great to have you back, man. I love it. Justin, what were your takeaways from the? Oh, by the way, also guys, I did put in the Philly Sports Network Union section, so you guys can check out Tim Lovingood's articles and all the other articles that we have up there. They're in the chat. If you guys definitely give it a check out. But Justin, without further ado, man, what did you think on Saturday?
Yeah, Tim was right. The first half was ugly, to put it nicely. Thank you, PJ. It's the Union Happy Hour. Quarantine sweatshirt. I love the sweatshirt. It is super comfy, and thanks to our boy Jared. This was his doing. But yeah, no, it was a ugly first half. I mean, Matt Freese had to do it, come up big a few times. And the goal, I looked at that a few times. The one time I'll say that Leon did not have a good play there. If you look, he sunk in way too deep. That's his guy.
Yeah.
When you're in the box, top of the box is midfield. The center backs take care of the guys near the six. That's the midfield guy. So someone had to take it. And at that point, I think that's really Leon's guy. And he had time. He had time to take a quick touch and then blast it. Matt Freese gets a hand on it, but shouldn't have gotten to him in the first place. After that, you know what? Quinn had a game. He's young. Yeah. He's allowed to do that. Like that's I think that's like I predicted that he would start, and I expected that. But Jim made a good early sub. It was like 55th, 56th minute.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was a good call. I think you needed to change something, and not too quick after that free kick gets whipped in, and oh boy, I like to defend goalies, but man, like I understand it getting through because as a goalie, like those weird touches can really throw you off. But then it hit off his back. It's just like, man, that's not all on him, but man, that's just rough. Second goal, Kai. The fact that he was able to pick that out through a maze of bodies, like, and you can't blame Pantemis on that one. He's worried that it's going to deflect. He's worried that someone's going to get a touch on it. Nobody gets any touch, and then that ball goes clean through into the side netting. You're like, oh my God, wow, we might actually get the 3 points. And now, in the back of your mind, as a Union fan, you're always going, we are in Montreal, where recently we've had success, but we all know, we've all been, I was there when at home when we gave up 3 and drew against them. Montreal has always been tougher on the road than at home. And I'll say this, there were supposed to be 3 minutes of stoppage time.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have the injury, you had maybe a minute and a half.
Mm-hmm.
It should not have gone past 95-30 at the max. And I think that's what irks me more than the goal actually being scored is, okay, you said 3 minutes. You played 6 minutes. You can't tell me that injury was more than 2 minutes tops. And I think that's what's frustrating is, like, I thought that the game should have been over by that point. Okay, yeah, Jack's one of the few times Jack's flat-footed and Kai gets muscled off the ball by a man who was not very much bigger than him. In fact, I think they're pretty close to the same size. You know what? A point's a point. In Montreal, I'll take that. Like, in the fact that, as I've said, the bigger game is Saturday. So you just had to keep pace with Nashville. And Nashville did what Nashville does. There's a reason they have the league leading 15th draw.
Justin, we do need to thank DC real quick. Thank you, DC.
Yeah, like they don't lose much, but they also draw more than they win. And especially on the road, they're not a great road team. Even this year, their road record's been so. So, like, I think that's the thing is you got to think of it from you're still, 6 points above 8th place.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing Minnesota, Nashville, Cincinnati, NYCFC.
And Toronto.
And Toronto. Yeah, I always forget that midweek game.
Yeah.
So you've got at least 2, probably 3 wins in that park. Like,
hope so.
I really am not too concerned. Or even if you get 2 wins and 3 draws, that's still 9 points. I think that's absolutely enough for playoffs. Yeah. With all the teams chasing, that's plenty of points.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You bring up some really good points there. I mean, That's just rough, my man. That is just rough to kind of get some points stolen away in that type of manner. But one thing I want to commend, look, it's funny because we were talking about it before the air. Obviously, our guy, Pride of St. Paul, Justin Freiberg, is also part of Sporting Serotonin. Great match yesterday by you guys. But Jim Curtin showed up and he said hello to the Sporting Serotonin team. And look, I hate saying anything negative when it comes to Jim, but obviously, like, the rotation is something that definitely bothers me a little bit, and the tactical flexibility also bothers me at times as well. But yo, Jim, great call in the second half. First off, I understand in the first half they're trying to conserve their energy. It's 90 minutes, dude, right? So you're trying to conserve energy. Second half, boom, they came right off the bat with that high press, and you could see that right off the back. They were challenging those three backs that Montreal have back there, and I thought that was a great adjustment. And then, Justin mentioned it about the Quinn Sullivan substitution for Daniel Gazdak. What some people didn't realize was that they moved Daniel Gazdak back down to the 10. Yeah, we saw the 4-2-3-1. Jamiro went back down as a holding with Alejandro Bedoya, and I thought that was able to open things up. And again, it's proving my point. I do think that Gazak is a great player. I think he can do great in this league. I don't know if this is the right formation, or I don't know if they're, at least without a striker that consistently gives them that constant attack there. I think it does hurt. He was playing with Paxton Aronson and Leon Flock as his two wingers. So, Tim, just kind of, what were your thoughts on Jimmy's tactical flexibility you saw in the second half?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it'll be something we get to see more of. I hope so, because I loved when the Union played in a 4-2-3-1, or at least when they would switch to it mid-game. I know that was, back when we had Fafa Pico and El Sino was healthy and was tearing it up. And that the Union don't really have wingers, so it is kind of tough to see that tactic come into play. But I think, you could have Leon Flock run the left side just because he's a ball of energy. He will always run, and it doesn't matter what point of the game it is. He'll still at least try to give you the best that he can do, even though offensively he's a little iffy. And then when it comes to playing someone out on the right wing, why not have another Aronson run around there, or a Quinn Sullivan? We saw Brendan Aronson play out on the wing quite a bit in those when the Union used to shift to a 4-2-3-1. So I wouldn't hate that if they kind of went back to it. You start the game in your 4-4-2 diamond, you try to counter press everyone and control the game that way. And then if it doesn't work, then you switch to a 4-2-3-1 and you try to outpossess the other team. And I think that's sort of what the Union tried to do in Montreal. And, it led to the 2 goals. And apart from that late equalizer, almost 3 points on the road. So, yeah, props to Jim for trying something. And I think that is the right thing to try, rather than maybe doing like a 5 in the back or something along those lines. We've seen that a little bit, and it hasn't seemed to work very well. It worked against Cincinnati, but that's Cincinnati. So, take it with a grain of salt. But,
Absolutely, yeah. Man. You're 100% right. To that point with Leon Flock, your top miler, I think for the 3rd straight game, dude, he ran 7.3 miles, man. That's crazy. Absolutely wild. Like you mentioned, he's a ball energy. He doesn't mind the work either. It's crazy. He's been such a great addition to this team, his mentality. I love this. Obviously, the social media team does a great job over there. The whole see this face over here? It's a beautiful face. And it was Jakob Glasnes, and I think it was Daniel Gazdak on the wall there. That was a great moment. Does Brennan play as a winger for the U.S. men's national team?
He's been kind of floating in between the midfield, between the top of the midfield and one of the wingers in the front 3.
I would say right now, if there was a depth chart, that would be Pulisic and then Aronson right under him at the left wing spot. That seems to be where he's getting time. And yeah, who knows what Paxton can do, but if he can play a little bit of the wing too, and the Union want to shift that way, that would be fine by me.
That's pretty cool when you said that like that.
Yeah.
Christian and then Pulisic and then Aronson. Wow. That's pretty cool to put them in the same sentence there. But Justin, your thoughts on Jim's tactical flexibilities, man?
I think this is the one game where we can say Jim actually was tactically flexible.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's, it's interesting that with the as many players down as you were, he realized a few minutes into the second half, you know what? I think I need to kind of shake things up. You pull Quinn out, you put Gazdag in, which I've been saying for a while. Gazdag is the number 10 that you want for this team.
Yeah.
You just don't have consistent strikers. And I think he's always going to kind of look bad. And also, by the way, we seem to forget he had played a full season prior.
Yeah.
So, like, these midseason signings that come in, unless you're a Nico Lodero, which he's like the only ones in recent memory that I know of that came in and made an instant impact. It takes usually to the next season to really get. And I'm still keeping him the mindset that I don't think Jamiro is here next year, which definitely, would free up the number 10.
Yeah.
And, would allow guys like to actually, probably get some time. I think you look at it, I think Jim understood what he needed to do. And I think that second goal you give up on is not really anything. It's just unfortunate poor marking and nothing on the tactical flexibility. I thought in the second half, the Union instantly became a better team. And yeah, would it have been great to get 3 points? Yeah, but at least this game showed that Jim, for once, actually isn't afraid to go, you know what? I think I need to change things up and get back to a formation. I mean, the Union are familiar with the 4-2-3-1, and you had players quick enough in Leon and Paxton that certainly could play winger type. They're not exactly wingers, but they could do enough of the work that would be needed.
Yeah.
And I think there were a few chances that Montreal was able to like barely clear, and they were able to scramble. But it showed that if you need to, you could change things up. And I think the Union see that maybe there'll be times to be a little more flexible and kind of rotate things around. And hopefully, I know it's the end of the season, but hopefully Jim starts to now, pick this up and go, okay, I think I know when things aren't really working out well.
I agree. Look, and it's funny because, referring it back to the whole landscape of Philly sports that we have, the one thing that's just driving me up a wall with the Eagles is Nick Sirianni's not able to make a freaking adjustment to save his life. But over here, look, Jim, we've criticized him in the past for this, but I've seen this over the past couple of weeks or the past couple of matches, especially in this unbeaten streak that we've been on. He's been doing what he needs to do. He's analyzing what's going on, making the proper adjustments. And again, with that move that he made in the second half, unleashing the high press, switching back to a 4-2-3-1, putting Gazdak in there, and it really made such a huge difference. And look, we had 3 points for what, like 30 minutes or so. So you just got to play a complete game at that point, right? So that's all it really is. A couple questions for you guys. So referring to the presser yesterday that Jim had in the Montreal match, had the Minnesota match, Davo was brought up into the conversation. And I quote from our great Joe Tanzi. Shouts to Joe Tanzi. So this is from the Jim presser. Pretty much this is about Matisse Davo. It's pretty much saying others have been ahead of Matisse Davo right now. Curran said he's willing to put his best starting 11 on the field and put some players out of position. And an example of that, Quinn Sullivan playing at striker on Saturday. I'll say this about Quinn real quick before we get into Davo. I don't really know exactly what his position is, and I think that's a good thing. He's pretty versatile from what we've seen. But look, here's what I'll say, gentlemen. And I think we were all together in a New England match during the World Cup qualifications before Club America, and we saw Davo get out there. Me personally, I saw the pace. The dude is pacey as hell. And I just felt like what we saw from Davo was good enough to see him inserted more into the 18. And for whatever reason, I mean, Quinn Sullivan is ahead of him now. And we all know that when Corey Burke comes back, he'll be ahead of Davo as well. Dustin, I'll let you start with this, man. Like, what have you seen from Davo, and do you agree with this?
I mean, that's the thing. The only thing we've seen of Davo was the New England game.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, he got almost close to a half hour. Like he gets a decent amount of time, and unfortunately, that was only because Sergio. They tried to rush Sergio back, and he got hurt warming up. And I don't know what to say. Like, yeah, from what I saw in the New England game, he was turning the defenders. He got pacing behind. He was making direct runs. He was, getting good crosses in. I mean, I can't I don't know if I'm not disappointed because I don't really know much about Davo. I don't know what he can contribute. And you know what? I guess he's another one of those loanees that just goes back to his club. It was a very low risk, potentially high reward signing, and it doesn't work out. It's not like they paid a whole bunch of money for him. It was a loan fee. So I think they were kind of scrambling, and this is the point where I think in the off season, I think the fans have to definitely say to Jay, hey, I was there. We heard you say you're willing to put up the money. Why don't you put $2 to $3 million towards a striker? Because that's about the average cost. It seems like for a striker on some of the MLS Cup winning sides. So you know what? Jay, put your money where your mouth is, because I love Casper, but he's inconsistent. Yeah. He's a good striker. He's just very inconsistent. And the timing isn't great. And Sergio is good, but Sergio gets hurt when you play him too much. So you need to rest him. You need to rotate him out. If you have another striker that you could say, okay, you know what? Here's a guy that is going to give me 15 to 20 goals a season. You could pair him and go, okay, then someone can run off of him. And that's where Casper, I think, is best, when he can find someone that he can essentially kind of disappear off of and kind of, make those late runs and be that goal poacher that he can be. But right now, I mean, at this point, I don't know. I don't really know what Quinn's best position is. That's another thing. He's a good attacking mid, but he's also a good second striker / false nine. So I'm not exactly sure where he fits in.
He just wants to play.
Yeah. And I understand Jim's comments, but it's also if Davo's doing enough to at least make the bench, it's not like, Fontana a few years ago where it was like, what does he have to do to even make the 18? Or games where he wouldn't even make the 18 at all. This isn't a Derek Jones or Austin Trusty situation. I literally don't know what exactly the situation is right now.
Jay, hey, we want a 9. Jay, hey, we want a 9. Tim, what do you think of Davo so far?
I mean, there's not much to think of him, unfortunately, just because we haven't seen him. And I think, sort of to Justin's point, we're seeing Davo making the bench in these matches, and then we kind of now see Curtin's tactics switching late in games back to a 4-2-3-1, and I think that's gonna only hurt his chances to make to get on the field late on, unless you can really play just Davo up top and you're just playing him, in behind. But usually when the Union play in a 4-2-3-1, they ask their striker to be a hold-up guy. So you really only want Casper or Corey on the field to work on that.
Wait, wasn't he in the New England game? Wasn't he kind of playing as a winger in a 4-2-3-1?
He might have been, to be honest. That New England game I've thrown out of my memory just because of how angry I got at Henry Kessler. So, we don't even have to go back to that.
Same.
But yeah, I mean, he could have, maybe he could play as a winger, but I think they want to play him at striker. And I think if now a formation change is going to change the tactics late in games, you would really only play him if you really, really need that speed. And honestly, I thought the Montreal match was kind of calling for it, but then the tactical shift made things a little bit easier for the Union to find the game. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like you want him to come on because you keep hearing oh, he's like Sergio. He's like Sergio. Well, if he can be a healthy Sergio, then that's what I want to see. I want to see if he can run, and then if he can, do some quick cuts and then get a good shot off or something like that. We just really haven't seen it. So it stinks, but I think it is, like Justin said, one of those, sign or loans that doesn't come to fruition. Nothing happens with him, and he barely plays.
Disappointing, man. Disappointing, man. I thought he was gonna be Roberto Firmino in the MLS. I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding. But yeah, hey, listen, guys, it is what it is. The Union get a point, and now we're on to a very tough week here. We got 2 quality opponents coming up here for the Philadelphia Union. And look, I want second place, and I'm sure you guys want second place as well, but we got to take it one game at a time. So we'll turn the page here. We'll move on to our midweek match. Obviously, our Philadelphia Union, along with Justin Friedberg, will be up in Allianz Field facing off against Minnesota United. And of course, guys, to get you guys the perspective across the other line, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited to bring this man on. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from TikTok, Mr. Redhead Sports himself, a.k.a. Gabe Center. Gabe, welcome on into Dude by the River. It is so good to finally see you, my man. What's happening, man?
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Guys, if you don't know Redhead Sports, do yourself a favor. If you do not have TikTok, download TikTok and just go follow him because his content is just chef's kiss. It is great stuff. It's stuff that everyone can kind of relate to. He's obviously big into sports, but you look at it from a different perspective. Gabe, kind of, first talk about who the hell are you, my man, and kind of, what you do on TikTok, my man.
Yeah, so I guess I just started doing a bit of lifelong sports fan, of course, all Minnesota sports. We can talk about Ben Simmons later if you want, but yeah, they got into TikTok last year about this time, and trying to transition into more bringing sort of soccer to an American audience, and an audience, at least my audience is very, a lot of football fans, baseball fans, might not have that perspective, about soccer. So that's kind of been the goal recently, but just doing all the major sports and doing content I think people want to see, content I enjoy doing. That's kind of the MO.
Dude, I love it. I mean, I think it's everyone can kind of connect to it. I love your soccer takes as well. If soccer is so boring, then why is it the most popular sport in the world?
Yeah, it's awfully hard to argue, man. Yeah.
That was definitely a great point, my man. But again, it is truly an honor to have you on here, my man, and definitely keep up the good work on there. But what I wanted to ask for you, kind of for the audience to get some perspective, for you personally, why Minnesota United? Why the MLS? You growing up in America and you being a big American sports fan, like you said.
Right. Yeah. So I've lived in Minnesota my whole life, and I was a fan of the team. Back when we were the NSC Stars.
That's sick.
Yeah. So we won like a NASL championship back in the day, and I guess like got into soccer maybe the way a lot of Americans probably get into soccer these days, maybe FIFA, or at least young people, I'd say. I think that really helped grow the knowledge, like with not maybe having a bunch like your parents or somebody around you to like teach you what the values of the game and teach you to have a passion for the game. So kind of came from that. And then obviously it was super awesome just to like, I'm kind of like I don't really like just choosing some European team and being like, this is my team, it's like, no, it's not. Like, you just chose them because they're good. Okay. So like, that's a conversation I have with a lot of my friends who are like, Real Madrid fans and stuff. But I think it's important to support your local club. And I'm huge on that. So obviously when we transitioned to the MLS, I was all in. So, and have been since.
Hell yeah, man. You really do raise a good point. Like for me personally, like, look, I love watching a Euro game. It's obviously a really good product that they put out there, but it's not the same like supporting the Philadelphia Union because Philadelphia Union are my team. It's literally like 20 minutes down the street from me to go.
It's different. Yeah.
It's not there yet, obviously, but I think what's great about it, Gabe, is that all of us here right now on this podcast, we're a part of the beginnings of this league. Whereas like the NFL, the MLB is like freaking dinosaur age old. All these other leagues have been around for decades and decades and decades, whereas the MLS we're going into our third decade. So we can lay the groundwork down for the future fans. Like we could say like, hey, we were there from day one, and hopefully this last 100 or 3 years we'll see where it goes. But to me, that is the really important part, my man. I
Agreed.
wanted to ask, I wanted to ask you there, Gabe. So, how's it been being a Minnesota United fan? For you guys, it's been interesting because you guys, everyone forgets you guys came in with Atlanta United, and I think you guys
Right,
kind of
yes.
got overshadowed a little bit by that. And I'm even thinking about, I think like the darkest time was when
I-
the snow game, Atlanta comes up to
That was a dark
Minnesota,
day. That was a dark day.
the Orange Ball 5-1. They yeah,
Just smoked us.
and I think you guys come
Yeah.
a long way from that, man.
Right, and we were, Atlanta United came in and they were quick to compete. We built slowly. That was kind of our strategy from a managerial standpoint. The first couple years it was rough, not gonna lie. Like Darwin Quintero was the only like bright spot basically. But then I think they've really done a good job, especially the last, I'd say, 3 seasons. They've done a really good job of making smart roster moves. The scouting's been good. We've made some really solid draft picks, which is huge.
What's a draft pick?
Yeah, we don't know what that is, man.
Yeah, exactly. Which is like,
Andre
it's
Blake in
insane.
draft pick. Just saying.
But yeah, it's gotten a lot better, and I think the organization is really headed in a really good direction. Obviously, we got second in the U.S. Open Cup that one year to Atlanta. Of course, it's always Atlanta.
We're very familiar with being second in that tournament.
Yeah, geez, that's
Very
rough, man.
fines,
But yeah, it's gotten a lot better. And now this year, I mean, we could talk about it. Give you the story of Minnesota United this season.
Yeah, by all means, man.
Okay, so kind of what really tells the story for Minnesota this year is the fact that we're our goal difference is negative, right? We're 9th in goals conceded per match, and we're 23rd in goals scored. And there's a reason that is because the back line's been pretty solid all season. Not a lot of injuries, lots of continuity. But the attack, there have been a lot of injuries. Our main guys haven't played together a ton, and it's very late in the season at this point. So it's kind of crazy to think that we're still competing. We're still in the spot we are, but the attack has been pretty disjointed at times. The defense has been amazing. Tyler Miller, goalkeeper, has been is second in clean sheets. He's done a good job. But yeah, it's been really sort of rough on the attack. We sort of did this thing where we put so Robin Lod, the Finnish international, he's a left mid by trade, or right mid. He's left-footed, and we've been doing this thing where we sort of just put him at striker, and he's somehow our top scorer, going in this week. Right. So, and it's been interesting. We brought in 2 guys at the beginning of the season. Adrian Unu, Franco Fragapane, and they've both been decent. Fragapane has been really good. Unu, not so much. I think he got DP. I think he was a DP. So a little disappointing there, but we can get in the lineup and stuff and in tomorrow's game. It's going to be raining and cold.
That's what I'm hearing. So what's the weather up there right now?
Today was nice, but I guess tomorrow it's going to be like game time. I'm guessing it'll be, high 40s, rainy.
I actually looked because it's going to be mid 50s and yet rainy. So I'm bringing my Ziploc baggies that I usually do for the home union games.
Yeah.
Justin, you better bring hand warmers. You better bring it all, dude.
I'm prepared. I got my long sleeves and of course shorts because I grow up. I act like someone who grew up in Minnesota, wearing shorts year round. That's kind of always been my thing.
Okay, I do have to ask.
Everybody does that. So it's so annoying.
I have to ask, how cold does it actually get in Minnesota?
Depends on the winter. I mean, like, I'm assuming we've probably experienced our worst winter like ever because of global warming. But
right.
I think it can get to like negative 40 some days or whatever. Like, but it's rare. I mean, you don't have school that day, of course.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a negative anything in this area.
We've had like negative wind chill, but never anything that dramatic.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I mean that's probably a record. I mean, negative it gets. I think the last couple of years probably there was one really bad year. with lots of snow and really bad temperatures. It was probably -20, -25 a couple times.
Oh dear. I think I'm staying around here. guys.
Yeah.
I think I'm definitely staying around here. All right. All right. So let's talk a little bit about these tactics and these lineups here. We'll start with the Union side here. So we'll start here with Tim. So Timmy.
Yeah.
Obviously, the formation that we run is pretty self-explanatory. This 4-4-2 diamond.
Yep.
But as far as the lineups go, what do you think is going to happen on Wednesday night?
Yeah, I think the main choice that Jim Curtin is going to have to look at is who is the second striker, because Sergio Santos is still coming off an injury, and Curtin went in his press conference yesterday and said that it would be a stretch to play Sergio. So I mean, I would think maybe that he would make the bench, and then Corey Burke is still hurt. And then we obviously just talked about Davo, who's our loney striker, who has not played more than a half this season. So you probably won't see him. So I'm thinking they're going to put Daniel Gazdag up top next to Kasper Schmilko, and they're going to be two really slow strikers who are going to try to play near each other. And hopefully then, whoever's playing the 10, whether it be, young Paxton Aronson or Jamiro Montero, is going to have to kind of pull the strings to get those two going against Minnesota. Yeah.
Oh man, it's gonna be like the Ice Age up there, man.
Yeah,
Justin, do you agree, or do you see any changes?
I mean, the one change is my understanding is that Andre will be back.
Yeah.
I know he was held out as precaution.
He looks sharp in training.
Yeah, he was held out as precaution, which I don't blame him not having to travel to Montreal. Your back line probably going to be the same.
Yeah.
That's one thing that doesn't really need to rotate because they've been pretty solid the whole year. Your midfield, is El Brujo still up in the air?
I think he's
good to go. He was training as well. He was training with Blake and everyone. They kind of showed him and Blake in the pictures to make sure that fans knew that they are in fact back from their World Cup qualifiers and doing okay.
All right, then I think Brujo's back, which I think against Reynoso, I think will add a nice little physical edge.
Should be a fun matchup.
Someone who knows how to get under player skin and fresh off a yellow card accumulation suspension. So at least we know we can't get another yellow card accumulation suspension. So we'll
There's
he
always
always get a red
red
card. That
red is there, right?
Yeah, the red's there. With Brujo, the red's always there. It's just how close does he get? It's like Portland fans with Diego Chara. You just never know.
Us South Americans, man.
Yeah,
yeah.
In terms of your shuttlers, I think Ali obviously. I mean, I thought he put in a pretty good performance.
Yeah.
Against Montreal, being able to help dictate a very young lineup and being able to set the pace. See, the left side is where I'm kind of trying to, because I do agree. I think Gazdag and Kasper play up top. So my thing is, do you start Jamiro or do you start Leon at that left shuttler? Because I do agree with Tim. I think Paxton is at the tip of the diamond.
Yeah.
My heart says Leon, but knowing Jim and knowing how he likes to do things, it's going to be Jamiro. I'm not complaining. I think either would be good. I just think that with the way that Minnesota likes to move the ball up, and again, because Reynoso, it's like Darlington Nagbe or Lucas Elorion with Columbus, that midfield goes through Reynoso. When he's on, the team looks better. When he's off, oh boy, I've seen some Minnesota games. They are just, it is just disjointed. And I've said the same thing when you play Columbus. If you stop Nagbe or Zelarayan, you can win the game. I think the same applies for Minnesota. You stop Reynoso, I think you disrupt a lot, and I think you put a lot on an offense that, as Gabe said, doesn't score a lot. Your defense doesn't give up a lot, but your offense doesn't score a lot. So it's going to put additional pressure, and I think for a team that is staying afloat in a wild Western Conference. Because don't forget, you got the Whitecaps and LAFC on their behinds.
Ooh!
So it is they have to scrap for everything. So I think it's going to be a tough game, but I think this is a game for a counterattacking team like the Union to be able to exploit the spaces. And for once, this crossers may actually get decent. And who knows, maybe we'll put some past the pride of Woodbury, New Jersey, Tyler Miller.
Wow.
There you go, yep.
Look what you did there. I see what you did there. I like that. So, all right. Here's the thing. We need to consider the fact that not only do we have a tough matchup tomorrow night against Minnesota, but we also have another important match, which is obviously playoff seeding implications on Saturday against Nashville. So it's tough. Jim's in a really tough spot right here. He's trying to get points in both of these games, but you're also not trying to, strain players. Here's one thing you guys didn't mention. I want you guys to think. What about, because you, to the point where I know Gazak and Casper's not a lot of speed. What if we put Paxton with Casper?
I'd be fine with it, but I think
it's interesting.
It's like we've seen him play there. We've seen Quinn Sullivan. It's sort of like if you want to throw a homegrown next to Casper and hope that they can be like the speedy option that can draw some people away, maybe from like service to Casper, that would be totally fine. But I feel like against Minnesota, like how we're saying, their defense is pretty decent and consistent. You're going to need someone near Casper actually to help with some of that spacing and get the attack going. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see a homegrown out there, especially if Jim wants to now start rotating players. I don't think so.
Now's the point.
This is the time. This is the time. Yeah.
Good point, guys. Good point. All right, Gabe. Give us the perspective, Minnesota. Talk a little bit about the tactics that Minnesota likes to use and what you think the starting 11 will be tomorrow night.
And so first starting off, one thing to mention, I know you just mentioned LAFC in Vancouver. We are playing them next 2 games after this in a row.
Wow.
So
wow.
Yeah, so that's something to consider.
Playoffs.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. But so one thing that's crazy this game is that we don't really have anybody who with any injury concerns as far as I've seen, which has not been the case the entire season. So I think our lineup's probably going to be pretty much what you saw last game. There's 2 ways they could do it. They might do the thing where they just put Load at striker and they put Unu on the bench. Then you'd have Finlay on the right in the 4-2-3-1, Reynoso in the middle, Fragapane, of course, on the left. I'm pretty sure the defensive midfielders would be Dotson and Alonso. They played really well last game. They both have 8.1 match ratings, so that was a great performance for them. And then the other way they could do it is have Unu at striker and then play Load on the right, and then just have Finlay on the bench. But yeah, we're pretty. This is a full strength squad at this point. Greg Goose he's had some injury issues and kind of been out of favor, which has kind of been interesting. But I'm pretty sure that right now they're pretty solid with Dotson's been good, and then Alonso, who is 35 and still pulling the strings back there.
That's crazy, dude. Dude, he's to me, he's one of those MLS greats, and to see him on your team, man, that's pretty cool. Like we were able to see Brian Carroll, play in a Philadelphia Union uniform for a good amount of time. So that is definitely pretty cool to see, my man. Definitely pretty cool to see. All right, guys, let's get to the nitty gritty, man. Prediction time. Gabe, you are our guest. We'll allow you to go first. Tell us a little bit how you think what's going to happen tomorrow night and your prediction.
Okay, so it's going to be cold and rainy. I don't think it's going to be it's going to be kind of a sparsely attended game. There's been some drama with the supporter groups and the team with some COVID stuff. So I think the main problem for the Union will be the cold and rain, of course. Problem for both teams, really. So I think this is going to be a good game. Really, 2 solid teams. Obviously, the Union coming in, they're looking to improve their position, and we still have a 4% chance of getting a playoff home game. So I think we're going to really be fighting for it. So I think it'll end up being a 1-1 draw. That's what I got.
I think I would take that. I definitely think I would take that. All right, guys. Justin, you want to go first?
Yeah. I think that it's going to be a tough matchup. I think both teams definitely like to stick in and have very, very solid center back pairings that are not afraid to get a bit physical. But I think Jim's not going to admit it, but I think you're looking ahead to Saturday. Especially again, the getting points on the road and winning at home is definitely a big topic. I think I agree with Gabe. I think a 1-1 draw actually sounds about right. Like it's going to be a bit of a ugly slog fest. You know how I guess when it gets rainy, you saw it Saturday. Rain plus soccer equals wet and wild, just craziness. Anything can happen, and I think that Jim's not going to want to push anything. I don't think he's going to want to risk any injuries. I think he's going to try to play a bit conservative. If you can do a smash and grab and get 3 points, I think he'll obviously take that and run as quickly as he can back to the airport. But I think in reality, I'm fine with getting a point. And I know I said before Montreal that you wanted 4 points before the Nashville game. Well, if Nashville draws as they tend to do, there's a reason they have the league leading 15 draws on the season. They don't lose much, and Columbus is a tough matchup. So I actually wouldn't bet but a draw does sound about right. So if they draw or lose and you draw, you're either staying pat or you're gaining a point. So as long as you're still within 3 points of Nashville, Saturday makes it a battle for second place. And like I said, with the remaining 5 games, I think you can at least get 2, maybe 3 victories out of it. So I think having at least 2 draws is not necessarily a bad thing.
I agree. And maybe, you know what, guys? Maybe the Montreal match on Saturday prepares us for Wednesday because obviously, we have to deal with some rain, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens on Wednesday. Tim, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with both of you guys. I thought it was going to be a draw from the jump, and if I had to put a score on it, 1-1 seems about right because both defenses are so good. I will say from a Union perspective and just sort of the lineup that I saw them having, I see them having kind of that experienced lineup to start the match, and then having homegrowns come on later on as kind of those super subs. I think that's going to be the role for them kind of down the stretch. And then the one thing I had to say sort of about Minnesota is if you look at their form, it seems like they get a lot of their points from the lower half of the Western Conference right now, which I think gives the Union a little bit of hope. So maybe they score first. But I think that Minnesota at home still fighting for their playoff lives right now in 7th place. And like Gabe said, with their next 2 matches being Vancouver and LAFC right after, right behind Minnesota in the standings, they're going to be fighting for it. So I think 1-1 is fair. And as a Union fan, I'd take that all day. Like I said, it's World Cup qualifying mentality. You draw on the road, you get wins at home, then you get to the playoffs. That's how this last late season stretch has to be.
Absolutely, man. Real quick, guys, because Zach has a great question, and Gabe, you're more than welcome to hop on here as well. Zach wants to know: do you guys think Paxton will have a high of a ceiling as Brendan? And he also adds Europe and then ... USMNT question mark.
Hey.
I think as right now an unfair comparison, considering how quickly Brendan's stock has risen. I mean, the fact that he was playing under Jesse Marsh, who is a good friend of Jim's, is someone who had the same system, knew how to groom him as an attacking mid, and he's been usually playing kind of either as the right side of that 4-4-2 or sometimes as that winger, and it's translated well to the national team. And I think Paxton is starting to get those minutes. I think it took a while, and we were always wondering, well, where's Paxton? I think now you're starting to see why people thought Paxton might have a higher ceiling than Brendan. It's still very early, and they're obviously both still pretty damn young.
Yeah.
But I think right now it's a tough comparison. I think Paxton may not even be the next Union homegrown to get to Europe. I honestly think that might be Quinn with the way he's been playing. So I don't know. And I think Paxton will go to Europe. I just don't know if it's as soon as Brendan did.
What if there's a money line on that, actually? What's going to be the homegrown going to Europe next?
Probably.
There probably is
one.
one.
For everything.
I mean, I think this question will be answered more so next year rather than this year. And I think it'll all stem from we'll have Gazdag back and Paxton Aronson, and they'll be fighting for the starting 10 job for the 2022 season, sort of like how Brendan Aronson had Marco Fabian to push him. And I think we could see, if there's a similar situation there that happens next season, then we could see, Paxton make that jump then to Europe within the next year. It's sort of the same path. It's there for him if he can rise his game to that level. We're seeing him now in more games as a sub or from the start. He definitely has it. It's just a matter of when rather than if, I think, at this point. I don't know about U.S. men's national team. That seems pretty full right now for attacking midfielders, but we'll see what the future holds for him.
Very good points. Very good points. And Zach will show some love to St. Joe's Prep. St. Joe's Prep, ladies and gentlemen. Gabe, one more question for you, my man, before we let you go. How has Minnesota embraced Minnesota United in the sports landscape of things?
Yeah, so I think we started out in Blaine, and then which is a suburb north of the cities. And then we went to TCF Bank State, formerly TCF Bank Stadium, the Gophers Stadium. Mm-hmm. And now we've got our own field with a brew hall. And I think it was a good fit from that kind of perspective, where Minnesota has really good brewery culture. And it's a very, obviously it's a very liberal city. So I think it was really good. And the supporter groups are solid. The atmosphere is good. So I think it's working out pretty well. The stadium's only, 19,000, but the game is really growing here, I think. And we're starting to see some homegrown players, from places like Woodbury and, St. Paul. So we're excited. It's getting a lot of momentum around here.
That's good, man. That's good. How about the sports coverage? Are they implemented a lot with the Vikings, Timberwolves, Twins, and what am I blanking?
Yeah. So I was gonna bring this up actually. So we have so we used to have Fox Sports North.
Okay.
And then Bally, of course, bought it. And then they don't have a deal with most streaming. Like, so if you have YouTube TV, Hulu, they're in this long fight over rights, so we can't really watch most games, at least midweek games. Man. Weekend games they put on like a local channel, which has been great. So it's kind of tough sometimes, and I think with hockey starting and the Timberwolves, the late season, I think it kind of falls off a little bit for United. So that's one thing to consider is like, I think the momentum sometimes is at its peak, in like July, and then it kind of dies down as the other sports start. Obviously the Vikings, that's everything's starting now.
Yeah,
it's the state of hockey. So most people, a lot of people are, and maybe the market for the fans in other cities they're all hockey fans here. So there is that challenge, but somehow still, they've done a good job, and it's the team's been at least somewhat successful the last couple of years, which I think has really helped.
Absolutely. I'm sure Minnesota United is not going to listen to this pod, but one thing the Union does that actually has made the experience so much better, they've been broadcasting the games through the website, through their actual PhiladelphiaUnion.com website. I know, Tim, you do that sometimes too, right?
Yeah, like I have YouTube TV, right. And their broadcasts over TV are through a PHL 17, like, basically ABC's second station, which isn't on YouTube TV. And yeah, so since I'm in the broadcast area that the union sees fit as a local person watching the team, I can watch their streams on their website. Now, if you're outside that radius, you're kind of SOL, but at least it's an option for the people that are close by that are, cut the cord and only have streaming type of thing.
See, that's the weird thing. I have cut the cord, yet I watch all of the Union away games through ESPN Plus, so I always get the away feed. It's really weird. Like, I don't get PHL 17, so I get every away feed.
Huh.
That's good. You get to see some of the other announcers in the league. That
it's rough.
Is it really?
Oh yeah, no, it can be rough, especially with like the Red Bull when Shep Messing, who as much as I love him, goes on and on about how every team is complaining, and back in my day, no one complained. It's just like,
back in my day,
we get it. I know you're a legend, but we get it. You've been around the sport a long time. Like, dear God.
Back in my day, goalkeepers didn't have gloves. Huh? Awesome stuff. Gabe, dude, seriously, man, thank you so much for hopping on in, man. It was truly a pleasure to have you on, man. You're doing such a fantastic job on TikTok. Keep up the good work. But for the people out there, where could they find Gabe Sinner, my man?
So on TikTok at Redhead Sports, and then everything else is Gabe Sinner, I think. That's SINNER.
Awesome stuff. What can we expect from Gabe Sinner in the coming weeks and months on as far as your content goes?
Hopefully regular posting on TikTok, raising that a little bit, and then just more of the same kind of content that I do. It pretty much says it in my bio, so you have to go read it.
There you go. Are you going to be at the game tomorrow?
I was offered tickets. I'd already had tickets to the Timberwolves game.
Okay.
So I'm going to the Timberwolves game, unfortunately.
I hear you, man. We got 3 sports tomorrow too. The Union, Sixers, and Flyers will be in action tomorrow, all at the same time, which is wonderful for us, right? So we'll be indulging. I'll have 3 screens. I'll find 3 screens somewhere to watch all 3. So it'll be great. Justin, I want to say first off, safe travels, my man, and you enjoy your time. Represent Philadelphia the way you only know how to, my man. So have fun up there, man.
I will. I'm excited. It's supposed to be a fun time. I've already talked to a few friends out there who might be meeting up at a brewery nearby to talk. But yeah, I'm excited. I've heard some good things about Allianz Field, and I always love. My goal by the time I leave this planet is to travel to every away stadium, and
I love that.
Allianz Field, as beautiful as it is, I'm excited to check it off the list finally.
I hope we can show you a good time up here.
Yeah, Gabe, because Justin's a big brewery guy. What's your favorite brewery in that area that Justin needs to check out?
Yeah, I mean, Surly's always good. My favorite brewery is Bauhaus, but those are a little farther away from the stadium.
Okay.
So whatever recommendation you got that's closer in that Midway area.
I got Dual Citizen.
Dual Citizen? Yeah, it'll be good.
A recommendation prior to the game.
Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah, it'll be great. You'll have a good time.
Well, all of a sudden, guys, I have a hankering for a beer. So on that
Wow, how did that happen?
Ladies and gentlemen, seriously, thanks again to Gabe, and thank you guys for tuning on into DOOP by the River. We'll be back at it again next week, ladies and gentlemen. Do not forget, we'll be back on PSN on PSN's YouTube channel next week. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to El Parcero Phillies YouTube channel as we will continue broadcasting all the live portions on there. And of course, you can find DOOP by the River wherever you stream podcasts. We're part of the PSN Radio. You can find all of your favorite Philly Sports Network podcasts on there, as well as DOOP by the River. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Gabe Sinner. That is Tim Lovinguth. That is Justin Pride of St. Bald, Freiburg. And of course, I go by El Parcero Philly, and we're telling you guys to do ball. Talk to you guys next week.